Some numbers pass through history like shadows barely noticed, barely remembered, but a few leave trails. They appear and reappear across centuries, whispered between columns, etched into seals, engraved on ancient stone and modern steel. 33 is one of them. It's a number that doesn't shout. It hums beneath the surface, in architecture, in myth, in ritual. And for those with eyes to see, it is everywhere. In Freemasonry, the number 33 is sacred, not merely symbolic structural. The Scottish Rite, one of the most prominent and secretive branches of the craft, culminates in the 33rd degree, the honorary and final level of initiation. Not everyone reaches it. Fewer still understand what it truly means. It's said that while the first 3 degrees awaken the builder and the next 30 refine the initiate, the 33rd opens a door that cannot be closed again. But why 33? Why not 30 or 50? Because 33 is not arbitrary. It is chosen a number embedded with power, recognized by the ancient initiates as a key, passed through ages and orders like a torch in the dark. Across the world, it reappears. Washington, D.C., designed by Masonic architects, brims with hidden geometry. The Capitol building, the obelisk, the layout of the streets themselves encode star alignments and numerical ratios, many of which lead back to 33. The latitude line 33 degrees north intersects through locations of deep historical and spiritual significance. New Orleans, Phoenix, Baghdad, Damascus, Mount Hermon, the place where, in ancient apocryphal texts, the Watchers descended from the heavens. Coincidence? Or cartographic initiation? Secret societies have long used symbols to veil truth, not to deceive, but to protect. Because some truths are not meant to be handed down in words. They must be discovered. 33 is one such symbol, a marker left along the trail, a breadcrumb for the seeker who's begun to wake up. You'll find it in unexpected places. There are 33 segments in the United Nations emblem, 33 vertebrae in the human spine, the serpent path of Kundalini. Jesus, in Christian tradition, was crucified at age 33, the moment of resurrection, of transcendence. In Buddhist practice, 33 deities dwell in Triastrisha heaven, the celestial realm above Mount Meru. In the Vedas, the gods are said to number 3311 for each domain: earth, sky, and heavens. Do these cultures share a common source? Or did they each uncover the same code embedded in the fabric of existence? The number 33 is not a brand, it is a threshold. To those who dwell outside the gate, it appears decorative, a number like any other. But to those who have passed through ritual, trial, and transformation, it marks a passage. A level of awakening where knowledge is no longer just learned, it is embodied. Because in the world of symbols, numbers are not quantities. They are frequencies. And 33 is the frequency of the initiate, the ascendant, the one who dares to remember. So the next time you see it in stone, in scripture, in silence, ask yourself, is it coincidence? Or are you being called? To the ancients, mathematics was not a tool. It was a sacred language. Long before numbers were used to count coins or measure trade, they were revered as divine principles, living archetypes. Numbers held frequency, identity, vibration. They were not about the universe. They were the universe. And within that hidden system, the number 33 holds a peculiar position, poised at the intersection of geometry, biology, astronomy, and spiritual ascent. Let's begin with the human form. The human spine, the sacred axis of the body, the rod upon which the temple of flesh is built, contains exactly 33 vertebrae. From the base of the spine to the crown of the skull, this column carries not just neural impulses, but symbolic significance. It is the ladder of Jacob, the coiled serpent of Kundalini, the staircase inside the temple. Every initiation, every ritual of ascent mirrors this inner structure. The number is not random. It is anatomical and metaphysical. The yogic tradition tells us that a sleeping energy lies at the base of the spine Kundalini, coiled like a serpent, waiting to rise. When awakened, it climbs the spinal column, energizing the chakras, the 7 wheels of inner power, until it pierces the crown, releasing divine awareness. And how many steps must it take? 33. In sacred geometry, 33 is woven into natural proportions and harmonic ratios. The Pythagoreans, the ancient mystery school of number mystics, believed in the soul's transmigration through geometrical perfection. Their teaching showed that numbers like 3, 6, 9, and 33 weren't just mathematical, they were transformational. 33 is a multiple of 11, a master number. It also appears in the degrees of celestial motion. The sun takes approximately 33 years to complete a full orbit through the precession of the zodiac, in alignment with Earth's rotation. In esoteric astronomy, this cycle relates to solar consciousness, a metaphor for the inner sun being reborn. In the design of temples and sacred sites across Egypt, India, and Mesoamerica, steps and layers often appear in multiples of 11 or 33, not for structural reasons, but to align with vibrational harmonics. These structures were not merely built to last, they were built to resonate. Because to the ancients, form equals function equals frequency. 33 is not just an integer, it is a harmonic. Even the Hebrew alphabet, central to Kabbalistic tradition, contains hidden numerical significance. Through gematria, the study of the numeric value of letters, many divine names and phrases reduced to 33, signifying connection, unity, and elevation. And what of the musical scale? The harmonic overtone series, the structure of sacred chants, and even the resonance patterns of architectural spaces often orbit multiples of 11, 22, and 33. These numbers appear where spirit meets sound. The architects of antiquity, not builders, but initiates, knew this. They were not designing buildings. They were composing instruments, structures that sang when aligned with celestial rhythms, human breath, and planetary movement. To step inside such a space was to step into a code. And the number 33? It was the tuning fork, the initiatory frequency, the signature of balance between heaven and earth, body and spirit, number and meaning. So when secret societies adopted 33, they weren't choosing a symbol. They were preserving a mathematical truth. Because long before we learned to calculate, we were meant to resonate. There are paths you walk with your feet, and others you walk with your soul. The ancient mystery schools knew this well. They did not promise salvation or knowledge. They offered something far more difficult, transformation, but it came with a cost. To ascend was to pass through trial, to suffer, to endure, to become. And always the ascent was measured, step by step. 33 steps. The number 33 appears again and again in the traditions of initiation, not as decoration, but as structure. In Freemasonry, it marks the highest known degree, the symbolic culmination of a long and difficult climb through the veils of illusion toward the inner sanctum of wisdom. But long before lodges and aprons, this number guided initiates in temples of stone, under stars that burned with memory. In Egypt, the initiate's path was not a single ceremony, but a lifelong progression. The priest in training passed through levels of purification, silence, fasting, study, and astral work. Many scholars believe the temples of Dendera and Edfu were designed as physical representations of this inner journey, their corridors and chambers corresponding to psychic thresholds. In ancient India, the process was known as sadhana, disciplined effort over years, sometimes lifetimes. The yogi passed through 33 vertebral gates, activating layers of consciousness as the serpent power Kundalini climbed toward the thousand-petaled lotus. These paths were not literal staircases. They were maps. Each step in the journey was a movement inward through doubt, ego, fear, desire, and at each level a mirror appeared. The initiate had to look and see not just what was above, but what lay hidden within. In esoteric Christianity, the life of Christ becomes the arc of initiation. He begins as a child of prophecy, walks among the people as a teacher, and at age 33 undergoes the final trial, crucifixion. But death is not the end. It is the veil. The resurrection is the true initiation, not into immortality, but into the realization that death itself is illusion. And what is crucifixion if not the breaking of the ego? The 33 steps are not a climb to greatness. They are a dismantling. Each one strips away illusion. Each one removes a mask. Until finally, there is nothing left but the light that was buried beneath all along. In Taoist alchemy, the microcosmic orbit is circulated through the body from base to crown, and back again, mirroring the journey of the spiritual energy up the spine. The movement is subtle but exact. Steps, gates, degrees. In every culture where inner transformation was sacred, a pattern emerges. There is a threshold of mastery, a point beyond which the initiate becomes something else, not superior but aligned, whole, a channel for what the ancients called the divine will. And that threshold, again and again, rests at step 33. Not because it's fashionable, but because consciousness unfolds in pattern. In the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Sephiroth form 10 spheres and 22 paths between them, 32 in total. And the 33rd? It is Da'at, the invisible Sephira, the hidden knowledge, the place of silent knowing that cannot be taught, only embodied. It is the final step and the first beyond. So why do secret societies honor 33? Because they know that true initiation is not a ritual, it is a return, a slow unraveling of the self until only essence remains. And the initiate who walks the 33 steps does not reach the top. They vanish, not into absence, but into light. When a number appears in ritual, we might call it tradition. When it reappears across continents, in temples, prayers, and gods, we must call it something more. 33 is not confined to lodges and hidden orders. It pulses in the open, encoded in the very structure of religion, myth, and the architecture of the sacred. Let us begin with the most familiar. In Christianity, Christ, the incarnate Word, the divine made flesh, is said to have lived 33 years on earth. 30 years of preparation, 3 years of ministry, and then the crucifixion. But this isn't just biography. It's a ritual framework. The number 33 becomes the bridge between the mortal and the eternal. His death at 33 marks the sacrifice, but also the transcendence, the rebirth, the initiation into godhood. In Islam, the number 33 emerges again, this time in devotional practice. After prayer, many Muslims repeat the names of God or phrases of remembrance 33 times each, a cycle of dhikr, remembrance, designed to purify the heart and align the soul. In the Hadith traditions, those who enter paradise are said to be restored to the prime age of 33, perfect eternal youth. Not 30, not 40, 33. Why? Because 33 is the number of completion without decay. It is final form without decline. In Buddhism, the cosmology of the heavens describes Triastrisha, the heaven of the 33 gods. This realm, one of the 6 worlds of desire, sits atop Mount Meru, the axis mundi, where celestial beings rule over order and dharma. It is the Deva Loka of Chakra, the Buddhist version of Indra, and it is not symbolic heaven. It is a state of consciousness, accessible through virtue, clarity, and practice. And what of the Vedas, the sacred texts of ancient India? They describe 33 deities that govern creation, 12 Adityas, solar principles, 11 Rudras, transformative forces, 8 Vasus, elemental energies, and 2 Ashvins, divine twins. Together they represent a full pantheon, not chaotic, but harmonized, a structure, a divine geometry. In these systems, 33 is not used for ornamentation. It is a cosmic scaffolding. Even the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, a masterwork steeped in esoteric Christian mysticism, is divided into 3 parts, each containing 33 cantos, with one introductory canto to bring the total to 100, a number of divine perfection. But it is 33 that repeats again and again, guiding Dante through hell, purgatory, and paradise. A map of the soul's purification. In Kabbalah, although the formal tree of life contains the 10th of September Hiroth and 22 connecting paths, totaling 32, there is a mysterious 33rd, Da'at, the hidden Sephira, the knowledge that is not taught but revealed. It exists only to those who pierce the veil. It cannot be grasped, only realized. Even the Rosicrucian and Hermetic orders speak of 33 as the degree of the master, the level at which the initiate becomes not a student of the mystery, but its living expression. This is not numerology for amusement. This is architecture of the divine. The gods are not counted in random. The prayers are not repeated by chance. The mythic ages, the gates, the levels of initiation, all mirror the same unspoken law. Because 33 is not just the number of the God-man or the cycle of sacred time. It is the threshold at which myth becomes embodiment. When the divine steps into flesh, or when flesh remembers its divinity. What if the world itself was designed like a temple? What if cities, monuments, and borders were not just historical accidents or architectural choices, but part of a hidden language built to reflect a deeper order? This is not fantasy. This is occult geography. And the number 33 is written across it like a signature. Let's begin with the Earth. Along the 33rd parallel north, a mysterious alignment of historically and esoterically charged locations appears. These aren't just cities. They are centers of conflict, ritual, power, and transformation. Asterisk Baghdad, where civilization once began, the cradle of Sumer, Akkad, Babylon. Asterisk Damascus, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. Asterisk Phoenix, Arizona, founded and laid out by Freemasons, known for its spiral-shaped roads and occult symbolism. Asterisk Charleston, South Carolina, home of the first Supreme Council of the 33 Degrees Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Asterisk Roswell, New Mexico, the site of the famous UFO incident, also aligned near the 33rd. Coincidence? Not likely. The builders of ancient temples aligned their structures to the stars. The architects of the modern world, it seems, have aligned the Earth itself to the same invisible currents, ley lines, geomagnetic flows, numerical harmonics. Because just as the body has a spine, the earth has its own meridians, and the 33rd parallel acts like a ritual belt, a binding circle where the physical and astral converge. In Washington, D.C., designed by Freemason Pierre L'Enfant, the street layout contains embedded pentagrams, crosses, and star alignments. The Capitol dome is crowned not just with architecture, but with symbolism. 13 steps here, 33 rays there, obelisks, reflecting pools, not just for beauty for residents. Even the Washington Monument stands 555 feet tall, or 6,660 inches, echoing the inversion and mastery over base forces, and again pointing to symbolic numerics. Masonic lodges, especially of the Scottish Rite, are often constructed with 33 steps, pillars, and degrees embedded in their geometry, not merely to honor tradition, but to recreate the initiatory path in space. To move through these places is to walk the ancient journey physically. But this encoding isn't limited to the West. In ancient Egypt, temples were aligned with astronomical precision. The Great Pyramid sides point to true north with accuracy almost beyond modern capability. Inside, the King's Chamber and Grand Gallery form a path upward, a staircase in stone, with 33 symbolic steps between base and apex. In Angkor Wat, Borobudur, Chichen Itza, and Teotihuacan, we see the same geometry at work: layered steps, aligned portals, sacred mathematics. Each structure is a reflection of cosmic law with numerics like 3, 9, and 33 encoded into dimensions and proportions. But why? Because for those who understand the code, space is not neutral. It holds memory, vibration, intention. To encode a number like 33 into the world is not just homage. It is a ritual act, a declaration, a setting of frequency. These are temples without walls, resonating with the consciousness of those who pass through them, especially those who recognize the pattern. Secret societies did not just preserve symbols. They embedded them in stone, in land, in law. Because 33 is not just a path to walk, it is a grid to build upon, a template through which the divine architecture is reimposed upon a world lost in disorder. So, when you walk through cities, when you gaze upon maps, when you pass monuments and never notice their shape, their number, their alignment, know that some of them are speaking in silence, and the number they whisper is 33. In the hidden sciences of the soul, not all numbers are equal. Some are said to carry deeper frequencies, vibrations that cannot be explained by logic alone. These are the master numbers, and among them, 33 stands at the summit. To the numerologist, numbers are not only values, they are forces. They are archetypes that act upon the psyche, the body, and the world. Numbers like 11, 22, and 33 are considered master numbers because they amplify spiritual energy, break through illusions, and open doorways to higher perception. But while 11 is the number of vision, and 22 the number of the builder, 33 is the number of the teacher, the healer, the master of light. It is the Christ frequency, the vibration of unconditional love, sacred sacrifice, and divine embodiment. In numerology, it is rare, difficult, and powerful. Those who carry it in birth date, name, vibration, or life path are said to be called to awaken others, not through doctrine but through example, through radiance. But this concept predates modern numerology. In the mystery schools, 33 represents the final gate, the moment when the initiate no longer serves self, but the greater whole. It is not about power, it is about service through illumination. The bearer of 33 no longer seeks the divine, they become its vessel. This is why in so many traditions the path ends at 33. Asterisk. The 33 years of Christ's life, culminating in resurrection. Asterisk. The 33 steps of spiritual ascent in many esoteric systems. Asterisk. The 33-fold repetition in Islamic dhikr. Asterisk. The 33 deities in the Vedic heavens. Asterisk. The 33 vertebrae that carry the serpent of consciousness to the crown. The number is consistent because it reflects a truth woven into the very nature of being. In tarot, another system of symbolic wisdom, the 33rd card is the final card of the Fool's journey. If the major arcana is cycled through twice with hidden initiatory logic. The Fool, numbered 0, returns at a higher octave not as the wanderer, but as the realized one. Innocence evolved into wisdom. In alchemy, 33 corresponds to the process of distillation and sublimation, the point at which matter is spiritualized and base metal becomes gold. Not literal gold, philosophical gold, the awakened soul. Even in the chakra system, while there are 7 primary centers, certain tantric systems identify 33 subtle energy points along the spine, representing minor thresholds of transformation, stages between raw survival and divine union. And yet, 33 is not the final number. It is the number of passing through, the master number of the 3rd tier, the synthesis of duality, mind and heart, sky and earth into something new. That's why 33 is kept secret, not because it is dangerous, but because it is sacred. It is not for the curious. It is for the ready. The vibration of 33 doesn't shout, it resonates. And those attuned to it feel it in sacred texts, in sacred architecture, in moments of strange alignment when time seems to pause and the veil grows thin. It's in the numbers that follow you, the patterns that keep returning, the inexplicable feeling that there is something more, something just behind the curtain, waiting. Because when you carry 33 not in title but in truth, you do not follow the path. You become it. There is a moment in every seeker's path when symbols dissolve, when numbers cease to be counted and begin to be felt. Because numbers are not just intellectual, they are vibrational. They are the music of matter. And 33 among them does not merely describe a quantity, it emits a resonance. In ancient schools of mystery, Egyptian, Pythagorean, Vedic, Mayan, the universe was not viewed as dead or mechanical. It was alive, harmonic, conscious. It vibrated. Every object, every thought, every being pulsed with frequency. The same was believed of numbers. 33 was not just drawn or written, it was heard, felt, embodied. Musical theory teaches us that harmonics follow precise mathematical structures. The overtone series, the natural pattern of frequencies that emerge from a vibrating string, follows ratios of 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and beyond. These ratios correspond to intervals, to resonance, to geometry. Certain ancient instruments like the monochord or the lyre were used in temples to tune the human body to cosmic frequencies. It's no coincidence that sacred architecture was often designed not just visually but acoustically. Temples were tuned like instruments, and the human within them was the string being plucked. Within this world of frequency, 33 appears as a harmonic that bridges body and spirit. Modern science hints at this truth. In hertz cycles per second, 33 hertz sits at the upper boundary of the theta brainwave state, a zone associated with deep meditation, inner vision, and access to subconscious memory. Some researchers suggest that 33 hertz tones can activate states of enhanced awareness, lucid dreaming, or even altered perception. But the ancients didn't need EEGs to know this. They knew it in the bones. They knew it through silence, repetition, chant, and rhythm. They used mantras, mudras, breath, and movement to bring the self into resonance with the unseen, and the number 33, with its repeating digits, carried the signature of reflection, doubling, and internal alignment. The double 3-2 triangle stacked forms the seal of Solomon, the Merkaba, the upward and downward pyramids in union, the symbol of as above, so below, masculine and feminine, heaven and earth. 33 is balance through vibration. When a number appears in geometry, in anatomy, in myth, and also in resonance, it is not symbolic. It is architectural. It is a building block of reality, a doorway that opens not with keys but with alignment. This is why 33 follows the initiate. Not because it is being chased, but because it is being mirrored. When your thoughts, emotions, body, and intention move into coherence, you begin to emit the signature of 33. You begin to attract symbols of that frequency. You begin to remember what cannot be spoken. Because the final teachings are never taught. They are felt. They are frequencies that awaken memory, not the memory of this life, but of something far older. A blueprint, a pulse, a sound that echoes in dreams and visions. When you truly align with 33, you don't need the number anymore, because you are vibrating it. And the temple doesn't open to you, it opens through you. There is a reason the number 33 appears in every secret society, a reason why it is carved into cornerstones, whispered in rituals, and guarded behind centuries of silence. It is not superstition, it is technology. Spiritual technology. For the uninitiated, 33 is just a number, a curiosity, a coincidence. But for those who walk the inner path, the Masons, the mystics, the Magi, it is the spine of initiation, the thread that weaves through every rite, every symbol, every carefully constructed degree. The Freemasons, perhaps the most visible keepers of the number, do not claim to own it. They inherit it from older traditions, the Egyptian priesthood, the Eleusinian mysteries, the Hermetic alchemists, the Essenes, the Sufis, the Vedic sages. Each group cloaked it in its own language, but each protected it for the same reason. Because 33 is a gateway, not into power, but into alignment. It is the number that marks the passage from knowledge to knowing, from study to embodiment, from walking the path to becoming the path. And this is the truth every secret society knows. The real danger is not that the profane will mock the sacred. The real danger is that someone will enter unprepared. Because 33 is not just a symbol of light, it is a threshold of fire. To truly awaken what 33 represents, the master, the healer, the light bearer, one must be stripped of illusion, ego, fear, and attachment. This is the process known in the old orders as the great work. And when a soul is not ready, that light can burn. So, the number is veiled, hidden, not to deceive, but to protect. Even within the Scottish Rite, the 33rd degree is not something requested. It is offered, earned, recognized. Because one cannot climb into light, one must be transformed into it. Why do they guard it? Because 33 is not an achievement. It is a responsibility. Those who carry its frequency begin to influence reality itself. Their thoughts ripple wider, their intentions manifest faster, their inner state begins to shape the outer world. And that kind of power if rooted in the unpurified self, can fracture rather than heal. So the number must remain hidden until you're ready to find it. And when you do, you will see it everywhere, not just in lodges or temples, but in your spine, in the stars, in the stories that whisper truths beneath the surface of myth. Because the secret societies do not own the number. They are its keepers. But the code was never locked away from you. It was placed in plain sight, waiting for the moment you could finally see.